Will the government have to continue spending millions of dollars to woo foreign investors to establish businesses in Ghana to employ our graduates? Can we find a way to grow our own sustainable local young entrepreneurs? Tonight, we deliberate on whether or not entrepreneurship can provide a greater promise for lowering the levels of unemployment in the country. The show is Candid Voice, and as always, we say it as it is. I am Caleb Ahinakwa, sitting in for your regular host, Benjamin Ofei Ado. Welcome back. Joining me on tonight's episode, we have Joseph Oppong Brenya. And when we abbreviate the name, it sounds like Job, J-O-B. Well, he is Director of Communication for the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, NEIP. He's here in studios. And we have Leslie Owusu, a chartered Osebonsu, thanks for that correction. Leslie Osebonsu, a chartered accountant and agri-business entrepreneur. He's also in studios with me. Gentlemen, good to have you this evening. I trust you're all doing great. Now, before we explore the thematic areas for tonight's conversation, I'm curious. And before you landed in the various job roles you find yourself in, did you also partake in the extreme sport of job hunting? Let me start with you, Joseph.
Oh, yeah. I started in the north, that's the Upper East region. But for myself, I don't actually apply for jobs. I come in, identify the problems at your workplace and tell you, this is what I can do for you. Give me the chance to do it. Many places I've gone to, there are places where they will give you the chance to do that. Places they will think you are mad. They will ask you to leave because they know what they are doing and you are telling them that they are doing this thing wrong. You want to do it right. So normally when I go in, I tell you this is what I want to do for you. They give me the chance to do it. When things go right, it's okay.
So you had a different approach to applying for these opportunities.
We shouldn't wait and just apply for any employment anywhere. Just observe the company or the organization you want to go in. Identify something you can do for the company and go and tell the manager.
So your method of application was finding the problem and proposing a solution. And how did that end up? Did you receive contracts? How did that go for you?
Oh yeah. That I started, as I said, Bolgatanga. One was Star FM. Yes, that's what I did. And they allowed me Ultimate FM in Kumasi. I told them I didn't even have a vehicle. I told them I have a vehicle to go to villages to do reporting for them because that was what they were lacking, rural reporting. And they said, okay, we should give it a try. So I started and it worked for me.
And fast forward to where you are now. How did you get here into your role as Director of Communications for the NEIP?
Oh, actually, when we took over power in 2017, we went through the Chief of Staff. There were a lot of people who were,
So your past work spoke for you to an extent?
Yes. At a time, you need to do extra. You need to convince them that, yes, this is what you can do for them to, engage you. So I think my past records and my CV and other things worked for me.
Interesting. Let me come to you, Leslie. Did you also go through where you file in an application? The secretary would tell you that you hear from us. You send an email. Sorry, we have other people who best fit this job. Did you also go through that?
Yeah. So even before national service, we were trying to apply. Sometimes you have your target company you want to work with. So we were trying to apply before national service actually began. So we tried a few companies, we didn't get feedback, but finally we were able to get national service. And through national service, once you finish with national service, you need a job. So whilst we were doing national service, we were trying to get somewhere we could get actual employment. So it's true, the people we worked with at my national service, where I did my national service.
So for you, lobbying to get jobs.
Yes. So that's what, aside that, sending applications through emails, LinkedIn, and all those ones. Once you see, we apply for them, but most of the time you don't even get feedback.
What was the X factor? Will you count yourself lucky? Because a lot of people also use the same approach, but it doesn't go on so well for them.
Yes, but it also depends on what you have on your plate or your CV. If your CV is good enough and you are recommended to someone, I think it's more likely that you get a chance to be interviewed and then you likely to qualify for the job or something of the sort.
Interesting. Now, let me pick your thoughts on the finance minister's statement. You know, a lot of outlets are reporting with the headline, Government Payroll is Full. And I just read it into context for us to better grasp what he was hinting at. You know, in as much as he tried to explain into context what he meant by the payroll is full, and that in summary, the approach to which the employed was not sustainable. Reality on the ground is indeed the payroll is actually full. But let me pick your general thoughts on the statement. Let me come back to you, Joseph.
Yeah, I think we misunderstood the finance minister. Actually, he was trying to encourage us to go into entrepreneurship, and he's right. The payroll, the government sector is choked. We all know it. It's a bitter truth. We all know it. We need to accept it. Yes, and this is the time we need to encourage our youth to go into entrepreneurship. People, when he said that, I reacted it on some media stations, and on Facebook, somebody said, "Have you given us money to go into entrepreneurship?" No. When you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't need money first. You need the right mindset, the right training before you think about money. You see? So, like NEIP, we started the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative, where we've taken entrepreneurship to basic schools and tertiary institutions. We train them to inculcate the idea of entrepreneurship in them before they finish school. So you see, we need to start somewhere, and that is the truth. The government sector is choked, so we need to encourage people to do their own work and employ others. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur.
Certainly.
So the few who can be entrepreneurs should go into it and employ those who cannot be, who will be searching for jobs out there.
Well, we'll delve deeper into this framework you're trying to visually describe to us. Now, Leslie, let me pick your general thoughts on his statement to come and counter his argument.
Not really to counter his argument, but growing up, we are used to the idea of wanting to work in the government sector because we know it comes with that kind of job security, such that when you are there for a long period of time, like you feel comfortable working, you know you can leave, go and work, or probably go and do a top-up course and then come back. Like that kind of job security is there. So whilst you are growing up and you are doing all the courses you are doing, your focus is to get a job that is kind of secure. So there are private sector jobs available that people wouldn't want to apply to, or even if they apply to, once there's an opportunity in the government sector, they would easily switch those roles. So that's one aspect people are looking at. Aside that, most of the training we are doing or we are going through, for instance, if you are doing a nursing course, the goal is to get a government work to do. If you are doing a nursing course or any of those other courses, you want to work in the government sector and not a private sector. One, because of the job security. But now that there's a statement that the government payroll is full, it makes you want to think, because being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone, as he said, and it comes with a lot of challenges. You can have the idea. There are people with a lot of brilliant ideas, but executing the idea is also a challenge. And then also getting funding to start a business isn't something that's very easy to come by. So those are one or two things that make it very difficult for people to enter into entrepreneurship or start businesses that they could end up employing people to work with them. Because it takes quite a long time before you'll be able to build a sustainable business that you think of maybe employing 5 to 10 people. So it takes time, and it's quite challenging.
So if you had the opportunity, would you land yourself in the private sector or the public sector, looking at the advantages you just expounded?
So it depends actually on your goals and then what aligns with your plans. So if the private sector will help your goals or whatever you want to achieve, then you go for it. You always have to weigh whatever options you have. So if it's a private sector, that your qualifications and then your aspirations fit perfectly, just stick to it. If it's the government sector and you happen to get the opportunity, or let's say it's no longer an opportunity but a privilege to work there, then probably.
I keep hearing opportunity, making it look like it's difficult to get in there. You need a lot of factors to put together before you find your way in there. Well, interesting observation. Now let me read some reactions I gathered from social media following the revelation. Well, not to an extent, because I think in June just this year, the finance minister made this exact statement, but he didn't mention that the government payroll was full. He rather urged the youth to get themselves onto, self-employment, entrepreneurship ventures. But on social media, the latest following the statement that the payroll was full, this one reads, a user here says, quotes, seeing Marshall and co play, Marshall the footballer, I wished I was a football umpire. but I couldn't be one. And it's in Pidgin and reads here that Poppy and Mommy said I should go to school and not rely on football. Now, after NSS, Soforia Tatu says government payroll is full. What will I do after NSS? God have mercy on the African child. Unquote. Another user here reads, and I quote, at this point as a parent, will you still pay school fees or buy tertiary forms for your ward? Unquote. Another user here reads that government payroll is full, venture into entrepreneurship. High utilities, high fuel prices, high cost of living, high taxes. Now tell me, how can a graduate venture into entrepreneurship and sustain his or her business? Unquote. And finally, government payroll is full because Kofi Papa takes the salary of 100 people and he hasn't improved the company he's heading in the 20 years he's been there to enable their capacity to employ more Ghanaians. Every year, his salary increases and it takes sitting allowances too, unquote. So this is just a section of a lot of comments on social media when that revelation was made. Do you agree with this comment? Far-fetched, or they capture the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them? Joseph?
My brother, our system, since the days of Nkrumah, is set up to make you fail. Our system is set up to make you fail. And for you to succeed, it depends on you yourself. What you want to do, how you want to do it. And we shouldn't look at, like, everybody want to go to school and come out to work at the government sector. That's the problem we have now. Everyone want to work at the government sector. And we are producing a lot of graduates every year. So just imagine, even if government should have provide huge number of jobs out there, not everybody can get some job to do, because we are producing huge number of graduates who are coming out every year. And looking at the number of graduates coming out every year, our population is also growing. So that is where we need to encourage our people that yes, government is doing whatever he can to ensure that people get work to do, but the numbers are huge. What will you do for you yourself? That after school, what will you do after school? Are you going into entrepreneurship? Are you going into business? Are you going into government sector, private sector? You should know what you want to do. Then you train yourself to that direction. But we don't just finish school and come out, we are looking for jobs. Whilst you were in school, what were you doing? What plan did you take whilst you were in school? So to me, they are right, because the system itself is designed for you to fail. It's just recently that things are being done to somehow encourage people to go into entrepreneurship. If not, for some time now, we would have had it very difficult as a country.
When you say the system is set up for you to fail, can you put it into better context?
Okay, let me tell you, you set up a business, and the taxes you are paying to GRA and other whatever, as you said, as a young entrepreneur, if you have maybe 10,000 Ghana cedis to work, and all these bills, you have to pay them every month. Can you sustain your job? You can't. You can't sustain whatever you want to do. That's why when we came to power, I'm talking about we as this government, we designed programs just to help you succeed as an entrepreneur. Very soon we'll go deep into that. So if you understand the system very well, you look at avenues where you can go to for support, especially when you want to be an entrepreneur. Because people normally think that somebody should give you money for you to do this, or you should get money from somewhere to do this. We don't actually train ourselves well, that when I'm even giving the money, how am I going to use the money? So they are right, but you need to conscientize yourself and know what you want to do for yourself before you leave school.
Many others will argue that there are a chunk of names on this payroll database that have retired, but their names, haven't been cleared of that system. What are your thoughts as regards this?
There are people who are over 60 years who have been given another contract to work. So how would they?
But that is part-time.
Yes, but they are engaged. 60 years, you have to retire and be in the house looking at your grandchildren. But the government offices where people are being given contract to work even after 60 years. So that's how the system is designed. It's another design that is making the youth, because in some places too, you go after school, they tell you they need 5 years experience. Where do you get the 5 years experience from? So you see, the system is set in a way if you're a young person after school and you are not very smart, you fail.
I'll come back to you and ask where we can start from. You know, you keep talking about a system, and I believe it starts somewhere. The root cause is somewhere, and we need to start and get rid of that developing problem. You know, before we fully flesh out into going fully into entrepreneurship. Now, back to you, Leslie. Do you agree with these comments from the social media users who also happen to be young people like yourself, myself, and Joseph as well?
Yes, so most of the comments actually make sense because if you look at the number of people who are employed in the government sector, also when you consider the number of graduates being produced every year, you realize that there is a mismatch between the number of available jobs. If we are just not even looking at the government sector and we are looking at the private sector jobs and then government sector jobs available and comparing the number of graduates who qualify each year, you realize that there is a huge mismatch between the number of jobs available and the number of graduates being produced. And you realize that almost every year or maybe within a few years, a school pops up. So gone are the days where we had maybe just University of Ghana, KNUST, and a few others producing the graduates. Right now, there are a lot of private institutions or private universities coming up and producing graduates of the same level of quality. But the jobs aren't increasing because it's the same skill. If I have accounting background, I did BSc accounting. Someone else from another private school that just came up in like 3 years also has the accounting. So what differentiates me from the other person? There are about 10,000 people looking for the same job, irrespective of whether it's the private sector or the government sector. So it's about the available job slots and then the number of people looking for the job. So that's where the issue is actually coming from.
So clearly, you are saying that the country hasn't explored every practical approach to, tackle the unemployment menace. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because for instance, the one district, one factory that has been introduced is a way for private sector participation in job creation. Because if there are more companies that are coming up, that means there will be more people who will be needed to work. But if those companies aren't coming up, government isn't providing the support for those companies to come up. That means it reduces the number of slots available. So if some of these initiatives are being developed more and then the agenda is being pushed to be able to enable people who have, let's say, the capital to start. There are people who have capital and then they can set up a business today and could be able to employ like 50 or 100 people. And then there are other entrepreneurs who will just do maybe 2 or 3 people. So if those people can be supported enough to be able to establish, maybe every year he's creating 50 or 100 slots for people to enter into, nobody's going to be complaining about government payroll being full because he knows even if I start at the private sector, in like 5-10 years, I can move. Somebody else can come there and then we are all sorted out. So it's about the support systems available to help with those.
Right. Now we are delving deeper. It's getting interesting, and I'm glad we are beginning the conversation this way. And talking about practical approaches, successive governments, have taken different policy initiatives over the past half century, to address the youth unemployment challenges. This is not the first government that has come up with a lot of plans and initiatives to kickstart a lot of these ventures, to ensure that the youth are not caught idle. Now, nevertheless, a recent World Bank survey report estimates that nearly 65% of Ghanaian youth remain unemployed, regardless of these challenges that are being, rolled out to ensure that they are doing something. Now, back at you, Joseph. Does the government today have the most appropriate policy framework to encourage the youth entrepreneurship? And does your agency, which is NEIP, which is assigned with the task of supporting young business people, targeting the right people? Because like you said, not everyone is supposed to enter self-employment, to be self-employed. Not everyone, can be an entrepreneur. Are you targeting the right people? Is there a framework available to you that you use to target the right people who want to venture into a business of their own?
Oh yeah, at NEIP, let me give you a background of NEIP. When the president took over in 2017, he introduced the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Program just to support businesses to grow and new ones to emerge, and also to develop the ecosystem. Our programs are designed in a way that support anyone who is ready to go into entrepreneurship or to do his or her own business. we have the Presidential Business Support Program where we advertise for people to apply. When you apply, we'll take you through training by business incubation hubs across the 16 regions of this country. And these people will train you. After training, they will recommend, if you apply, you are qualified for training. It doesn't matter the number of people that were, even if there are millions of people who apply across the country, they are qualified for training. So you go through the training at the business incubation hubs across the 16 regions. And these are private business incubation hubs across the country. They will do the training and recommend that these businesses are good and they are marketable for you to, fund them. They give us the list, then we fund them. We give them an amount ranging from 10,000 to 100,000 Ghana cedis. So when we took over in 2017, I think we've been able to support over 45,000 Ghanaians with funding and train over 50,000 of them, because we open the application online and people apply. When they apply, we give them to the hubs for them to train them. And after the training, they select people for us to fund them. We have a number of programs that will help people or entrepreneurs to stand on their feet. We have tax exemptions for people, young people who are doing their own business from the age of 18 to 35 years old. If you start your own business, government will give you tax holiday. You apply through NEIP. Government will give you tax holiday for 5 years for you to stand on your feet before you start paying tax. And also, we have a program whereby, as a graduate, when you apply the National Service Scheme, you do through NEIP, and you do your national service in your own company. Instead of doing the national service at maybe Bank of Ghana, Stanbic, or anywhere, you do it in your own company. So you can imagine the 1 year you spend at a different company, you can use that to grow your own company. So these are programs, they are pragmatic efforts to somehow help people to have to go into entrepreneurship, and also to support them to stand and grow. And another program that we have is the presidential pitch, where people who have business ideas before the president, they will pitch their business to the president. Some of them will be selected, and they will be funded from 10,000 to 100,000 Ghana cedis. And these people, anytime we have the program, the president even add his own 1 month salary to them. Every year that we have this program, the president will donate his 1 month salary to the winners. And this is to encourage them and encourage other people that will want to go into. And before 2017, were you hearing about entrepreneurship, business incubation hub? No, because government wasn't doing enough to somehow promote and also support entrepreneurs in this country. So from 2017, this government, everything we've been doing at NEIP is geared towards promoting and supporting people to stand on their feet, instead of people always walking around with application letter looking for jobs, which does not exist now. So we have another program known as the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative, where whilst you are in school, you go through entrepreneurship course. You learn how to write business plan, how to think through business ideas whilst you are in senior high school. When you get to the tertiary institution too, we have such a program there. It's not compulsory. You can choose to be part or not to be part of it, where you can also you'll be taken through entrepreneurship. Then before you finish school, you have the idea how to set your own business up. And this is another program that we want to introduce so that we can somehow reduce the unemployment situation we have in this country. Because if they have the idea as to how to set up their own business, when they come out of school, they won't go around looking for jobs. They will set up businesses and employ those who don't have the or who want to go into entrepreneurship, but want to work for some people. So when they get the chance to set their own businesses up, that's where they have the opportunity to employ other people who are also not into entrepreneurship. So government has designed programs at NEIP. Will take you from the senior high school to the tertiary. Before you finish school, you know what you want to do. There's presidential pitch. You can go and pitch your idea to the president. You'll be given funding for you to do your own job. There's the presidential business support program I mentioned earlier on. So that program too is there. You can apply online. And when you apply, you take you through training. Then you can also get funding to start your own business. When you start the business, there's tax exemption for you. For 5 years, you're not going to pay tax. It means that money you use to pay tax, you can reinvest it in your business. So, and we have a lot of programs that is designed in a way that will take you from the beginning to the end. So there's a lot of effort that is being a lot of effort that is being done.
That's a beautiful picture you've just given to us. We are visualizing it, and it's a great concept, but we feel it's not being materialized enough when you go on the ground. We'll come in studios. I would love to give a perfect example. You know, two groups of people now. The one who has the idea to create a job, and the one who does so out of necessity, not because he wants to create a job, but because, you know, he's hungry. He needs money to fend for himself and others. So how do you target which one is genuine, which one is not? Or you give to all of them? Which offer do you give to each of these groups that come to you for some assistance? So we have to take a break. When I come back in studios, we'll try to make it as relatable as possible. There are very beautiful concepts you've mentioned: the presidential PH, the student entrepreneurship initiative, and even national service persons who want to, get into their own jobs and run their jobs whilst also having their national service, simultaneously. These are very wonderful initiatives. A lot of people don't know about that. I have a lot of questions with sensitization, which people are enjoying these benefits. You mentioned 45,000 people. Well, we also look at the stats as well. The show is Candid Voice, and as we've already begun, we are saying it as it is. We have Joseph in studios from NEIP, and we have Leslie, who is a chartered accountant and an agri-business entrepreneur. My name is Caleb Ahinakwa. Once again, I'm sitting in for Benjamin Ofe Ado. The conversation, as always, is on entrepreneurship, its challenges, and the role of the government. Let's take a break. We'll be back to continue the show.
I nearly gave up on driving out of frustration. What hadn't I done? Purging, replacing electrical parts, changing my fuel pump, and still, the engine noise in my car won't stop. Then I met this guy who said I should try Goil Fuel. By the way, my name is Thomas, but I did try Goil Super XP Ron 95. Then
Goil stocks only higher grade fuels, further enriched with XP3 multifunctional enhancer, more efficient, eco-friendly, and at no extra cost. Available at every Goil station. Ajibebia.
Now my car is renewed. Yankonkwa.
Goil Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP. Higher grade fuels, excellent for modern engines in all vehicles. Goil, good energy. Yeah, dear.
Wash your hands, sanitize, mask up, and keep your social distance. Abba, be safe, oh. So all of us go be safe from corona.
A public service announcement from Asaase Radio.
Back in studios, and time check in studios. It's 8:33 p.m. and my name is Caleb. The show is Candid Voice, and we are talking graduate entrepreneurship challenges and the role of the government. Joseph from NEIP was giving us a beautiful concept, telling us the various initiatives that are on board the framework of NEIP when it comes to giving up opportunities for people to venture into entrepreneurship. Now, like I said, I want to make it as relatable as possible, okay? So to start with, okay, many people in Ghana, especially the youth, as it's showing presently, do establish businesses, not by choice, but like I said earlier, necessity. As such, most of them may not have these entrepreneurial traits or skills suggested in theory, to become successful entrepreneurs. They usually start their businesses with low initial capital. Their chances of succeeding are actually limited as a result. Now, even if they make some money, many of them may be unable to grow their businesses due to competing demand on the little profit they make. Now, going back to the fact that they don't have the skills to run these businesses, illness, school fees, other expenses, family wahala, they come into the picture. Examples of these non-business costs that eat into their working capital. Now, as the working capital gets exhausted, they fold up. A lot of young people begin businesses and it halts. I know people that go into drinks packaging and it stops for a while. The beautiful marketing, the designs that were circulating are halted. Where is this business person? There are, however, some individuals, on the other hand, who decide to establish businesses because they have identified viable opportunities and are determined to make sacrifices necessary to grow their businesses. There are now two groups of people. How do you identify individuals in each of these groups, and what offer do you present to them? The one who has creative ideas and is bent on starting his business, and the other who does so out of necessity without the requisite skills to sustain it.
At our place, we don't look at you having the idea alone. Having the idea and having the right set of mind is what we look at. As I said earlier, we take you through training at the business incubation hubs and accelerators across the country. These people are experts, and they can identify people with skills and people with the right mindset to do business. So we don't just give out funding to people. When you go through the training, you'll be taken through a whole lot of, how to restructure your business.
Well, sorry, before you continue, still on the training, there's no background search on the person. You just, send the person through training.
Yeah,
I want to understand
there's
that.
no background
Okay.
search on the person. You just go through the training, and I think it's at the training that's where we identify these people those who really need the funding, and those who have the idea. But even if you give them the money, they can't execute it. So when you give them that opportunity, although they have the idea, but if you give them the opportunity, they might fail. That's why we take them through training and conscientize them, have the right mindset to set up a business. Myself, I started a transportation business. It collapsed, and I have to sell some of the cars. Yes, I understand the situation on this ground, but at the time I started the business, I didn't even understand the transportation business. I just had the money, or somebody gave me some funds. I said, let me go into it. You see? So if you get the right training, the right mindset, you are good to go. Sometimes, when I'm talking about entrepreneurship and business, I don't want to talk about funding first. I want to talk about the training and the right mindset first. Because you can give 1,000 cedis to someone, the person will work. The next month, you have some maybe 15,500 cedis. You give 1,000 to somebody, the next month, the person will work and the money is gone. So it's about giving them the right training. After the training, that's where you identify that, okay, if I give money to this person, this is what the person is going to do with it.
And during the training, is there some form of mentorship, provided to these folks?
Yes, and what we do is that when we give you the funding, that's not all. Because these business incubation hubs are located in all the regions. They are with you all the time. When you have challenges, you come to them, they will tell you, do it this way, next time do it this way. If you do it this way, it go this way. You see, we don't just give you the funding and just leave you for you to go and do whatever you want to do with it. We'll give you the funding, and there are mentors around anywhere you are who you can fall on. They can also visit you at any time, ask you the challenges you have and how they can help you. So it's a system that will take you from the beginning to the end with that support still with you, because that's government's money we are giving to you. And when we give you the money, it comes with it's a loan. So with a loan of 10% interest, when you take the money, like if you take 10,000, you have to pay 11,000 in 3 years. So when we give you the money, we make sure that we don't just give you the money and you go. We'll give you training, we'll give you mentorship, we'll give you business advisory services anytime you need it. When we realize that maybe your challenge, let me mention this. During our training, we had people who came for the training. After the training, they will tell you, oh, I thought my problem was money. I don't need money. It was about how I do my bookkeeping, how I manage these things, how I do accounting, how I do these things. Then they realized that, okay, I needed money, but my problem is not money. The little I have, if I'm able to do it this way, I don't have to even take a loan from anywhere. And they come and confess to us and tell us, oh, we don't need the money. The training is okay. So no matter who you are, whether you have the idea, whether you are this, you just need the training. You just need the understanding how to run your own business. Because if you don't have that, you can have all the money in this world, you will fail. You can have all the idea, without the training, you will fail.
Very well. Let me come to you, Leslie. If you were in the shoes of someone, who starts a job out of necessity, would you want to go through this long haul, these long processes of finally establishing your business, Leslie and Co, Leslie and Farms, would you want to go through these processes? Would you have the patience to go through them?
The training, it depends on how the training is structured, because sometimes you realize that it's like maybe a 2-week training program, regular 9 to 5. For instance, there are people who start jobs and are like they start businesses and are working alongside. So if you have these training opportunities available, and I have to go on leave for like 2 weeks before I'll be able to partake in the training, it's a challenge. Okay. So he made mention of the fact that NEIP has a lot of programs available for entrepreneurs, but how do we get to know about it? I feel like, because you kept on mentioning
sensitization.
You kept on mentioning it's a nice concept. It's a nice concept, but from his end, it's something that is practical that they're actually doing. But from our end, we don't even get to
Not
hear about
materialized,
it.
exactly.
So that's where I think they have to come in, because he said it's an online application. I'm like, okay, if it's an online application, then it means you have to promote it online. Like all these social media platforms, you have to be able to promote it online so that people would get access to them. And when people get access to them, they would really, really want to consider all these.
So in summary, you're saying that if people knew about this, I mean, to a large extent, the menace we are tackling, we would see some solution, some light at the end of the tunnel.
It's going to help, because I have this idea, I need training. The way he mentioned it means it's not a complicated process. It's very easy to register and then partake in it. So if it's not a complicated process, okay, if I sacrifice 1 month of my time, since I'm not doing anything, if I sacrifice one month of my time, I go through the training and I'll be able to get funding, like if I'm dedicated to it, then you would want to consider. But if you don't hear about it, you don't know about it, so somebody who has the connect or is part of the organizers tells you, then
you didn't know about it.
Yes.
Well, if you're listening, the show is also live on Facebook at Asaase Radio 995. You can also send your comment via 020 000 995, 020 995, 020 995. And you mentioned something interesting, okay? And now my next concern and question has to do with the Ghanaian setting. I feel, a lot of businesses don't thrive because of the setting we find ourselves in. You talked about transport business. That's, I don't know if it collapsed or it halted. It collapsed. Well, Leslie, on the other hand, is into agriculture, entrepreneurship. What can you be a bit specific? What exactly?
I'm into rabbit farming.
Oh, rabbit farming. Great. So he's a chartered accountant, and when I ask for his bio, he tells me he's a part-time farmer. And on the African continent, they'll tell you that farming thrives so well. Now, can we by consensus agree that the national entrepreneurship environment in Ghana has its own features and must be systematically assessed from your end?
Previously, as I mentioned earlier, you wouldn't hear about entrepreneurship. And I think now that the conversation is being triggered, especially by the finance minister, what he said, I think this is the time we have to make effort to somehow, because previously, I think before 2017, let me put it that way, before 2017, we weren't hearing about entrepreneurship and people have to go into entrepreneurship and all that. So the government introduced the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Program. So there are programs that are, designed, as I mentioned earlier on, to help you. And when you come to NEIP, what we do is to promote businesses to grow.
So regardless of the business idea,
unless it's drugs, any illegal business. If it's anything legal, that one we can support. But unless it's
so are you saying that every idea these individuals have brought before you, presented before you, you can foresee that they'll thrive so well in the country and beyond?
That is why we have the innovation part. You can't leave innovation out of entrepreneurship. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to be very, very innovative. And we don't deal with just only entrepreneurs. We deal with other businesses too. Someone who want to go into buying and selling and all these people need the support. So we at NEIP, we have this funding. And the funding was introduced by the president, in 2017, about 100 million Ghana cedis. And this is a pool, and it's a revolving fund. So when you apply for it, you pay back. Others will also get the money to also invest in their business. So there's a lot. There's a lot we are doing out there to make sure and to ensure that we promote entrepreneurs in this country.
Are there dialogues, in place to generate more of these ideas, from your end? What kind of engagement, stakeholder engagement goes on at the NEIP to ensure that these ideas are not limited in execution?
Okay, what we do is that sometimes as I mentioned, with the business incubation hubs, they have to somehow come in with business. There are people who don't even have the idea, who come in just for the training. They don't have any business idea. But when you come in, the business incubation hubs who are training you, you can bring any idea. They will tell you, okay, this one, it won't work in this setting. This one will work. We can guide you through for it to work. You have to drop your initial idea and buy into it. Then we have a lot of them. A number of people who came with an idea. You look at it and you tell them that, okay, this will not work. We have business advisory services where they can tell you, okay, this one you are saying, no, do it this way. You adopt this one. Okay, add this to it and it will work. So we have like a pool of idea there that you can access from these incubation apps and these our mentors that we work with.
Right. Leslie, why did you venture into agric? Did you gauge the local scene, or what was the motive behind you venturing into, especially your background in accounting? I was expecting you start a microfinance firm or something, but you decided to go into agric. Yeah. Why did you decide to venture into agric?
So I actually was into this rabbit farming business way back, like before SHS. So even before I started doing business in SHS, the support system around me were like, should I do agric or should I do business? But I felt like doing business was going to give me an opportunity to get a job where I could get money to run my agri business. So that was the plan, to do something else that would give an opportunity to get income or capital for the agri business. So later I executed the agri business. Also, it's quite easy to start an agri business as compared to starting a microfinance. We know the capital requirements and all those things that come with starting a microfinance. So starting the agri business wasn't that much of a hell
Little
of
to
a
no
task.
capital.
Yeah, you have with a little capital and then the know-how, you could be able to start. So that's what I considered and then decided to enter into agric. And also I have passion for that agric side, especially with the animal farming aspect. So
what's the plan to expand it?
Yes, to expand it to
And where's that knowledge coming from? Are you self-studying, or you are reaching out to experienced farmers to pick from their knowledge too?
So what I actually did when I began was I was learning from an agric textbook when I began at the very beginning. So there was this agric textbook that was for SHS, but I was in JHS and then was learning a few things from it. And currently I usually watch YouTube videos on what other farmers are doing in other countries. So you realize that there are countries like Kenya, Uganda, who are making money out of the same venture, like doing it on a global scale. And then based on research too, you realize that it's actually an avenue for exploitation that is being underutilized. So that's where we are trying to bridge that gap and then exploit.
That brings me to my next, question. Has to do with education. I intentionally asked if you were self-studying or you're reaching out to experienced individuals. Critics and experts out there will tell you that our current education system, to a large extent, does not encourage self-employment. Do you agree, Leslie?
Yes, I would say I agree, because most of the courses are like the regular courses, and then they don't give you the practical experience. If these courses were designed in such a way that whilst you are studying, you have a company you are attached to. So you are attached to a company, you are able to get practical experience. Let me bring it home a little. I feel like apprenticeship is the best form of entrepreneurship for people to learn from. If somebody is learning hairdressing or somebody is learning dressmaking, you realize that at the end of the studying period, the person is quite experienced and can be able to establish his business on his own. But when you come to the educational setting or our educational system, it's just about studying, and then maybe once in a while you do an internship for 1 month or 2 months because you are being taxed to. But if it's made in such a way that while you are doing the course, you are having a practical experience, you are assigned to a company, you are able to get enough experience, like on-hand experience on the job, you'd be able to, maybe if it's just 6 months training on the job and like a practical aspect. For instance, I'm doing accounting, but I'm working with an accounting firm for the duration of my course. After my getting my degree, I know that I have like 6 months concrete accounting experience, And with the little support, maybe I could be able to build some clientele base and then set up or do some bookkeeping.
You
and
look
then
like you have this all well planned and figured out. But that was because you had, you were exposed to it at an earlier stage. Joseph, at what level of education do we begin to stimulate the entrepreneurial spirit? Do we go to all the way to the primary basic school, or we should wait on them till they grow into university students? At what level do we promote it?
I think at the senior high level, that's where we have started with the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative. That's where we have started because from there, they get into the tertiary institutions. And the courses in our schools is for you to write an exams, pass, and come and sit home. You know, the practical part of where the things we do are not being taught in school. The definitions and other things, you finish, you come and sit in the house, and that's all. But when you start from the senior high level with the idea that this is how you can set your own business up, you have a pool of ideas where you can get an idea from, work on it before you finish tertiary institutions, it's perfect. So I think starting from the senior high school will be the best place because not all of them go into the tertiary institutions. After senior school, some drop out, some become carpenters and other things like the skill areas. And at senior high level too, they don't teach you some of these things. When you come out, you are left on your own. So maybe you are going to any technical institutions or anything. So I think starting from the senior high school is the best way because a lot of people drop out from senior high school. They don't go to the tertiary institutions. And then when you also complete the senior tertiary institutions too, you need something to guide you out there, and we don't have it. They finish school and they are in the house. When when they finish school, there should be another program, just like I was talking about the Student Entrepreneurship Initiative, just to conscientize you. Okay, you are coming out. There's no job. Don't think about ideas. Set your own business up. And we have one program, the Skills Job Program. We do it with the Minister of Finance, where we want to encourage young girls, graduates, to go into the non-traditional skill area, like a female being a carpenter, being a mechanic, an IT expert. So we set up our program in a way that when you finish school, you know what you want to do. You already have the idea. That's why we started from the senior high school to the tertiary, teaching you skill jobs, teaching you entrepreneurship. It's not only just entrepreneurship that we do. As I mentioned, we do the skill jobs too. We'll teach you how to become a carpenter if you want to become one, and we attach you to a mechanic shop or a carpentry shop. So by the time you finish school, whilst you're on holidays, you visit there, you learn something small, you finish school, and you know what. And for now, the skills area is becoming extinct because of the introduction of senior high school. Free senior high school. And that area was left for people who couldn't continue their education. And now we have a lot of them going to tertiary institutions and because of free education. And when they come out, they also want to go and sit in the office. So you see, we must try to, we change the narrative that is for people who couldn't, continue the education, who go into mechanics, who go into carpentry, who go into these areas. So it starts from the senior high school, then to the tertiary. When you finish your tertiary institutions, you know what you want to do and you know how to do it.
Well, the show is Candid Voice. Time check in studio is 53 minutes past 8 p.m. Time is running, and there's a lot we need to explore. Let me come to you, Leslie, all right? Because we don't have so much time, I would like us to bring the conversation down to the myriad of challenges, we experience in the entrepreneurial space. And you are one in such a space. What is the greatest bane you are facing, in growing your business?
So usually it's funding. You need the idea.
I thought you earlier established that you need little to no capital in running.
In order to be able to meet a particular level, like to go very commercial, you would need money too. So you can start small, but the business doesn't have to remain the same. You have to grow. Just as he was saying, entrepreneurs have to employ people. So if you're not able to grow or expand, there's no way you're going to employ even 2 or 3 people.
What happens to marketing? Aren't you marketing your staff enough?
Yes, so you'll be marketing, but as you mentioned earlier that there are bills and then other things eat up whatever money you make, and then you're not able to expand. So it's funding most of the time, because people, as you work or as you work on the job, you get experience, you get new ideas, you want to explore, you want to do more.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the funding to be able to expand,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to do
Mm.
more.
Let me come to Joseph, all right? So I'll come back to you, okay? To someone like him who has an existing business running, he says he's made it clear that it's unable to grow like he wants to because of lack of funds. You've also made it clear to us that you can run a business with little to no funds. With his problem, where does the NEIP come in? Where do they come into the picture? Do you give him an advice? Do you give him, ways to, grow his business regardless of the little funds he has in his coffers? What do you do for such a person?
Okay, such a person, what we do is to diagnose the problem first. Why is he not growing? Why the money maybe he started with maybe is reducing or it's not increasing? We need to diagnose the problem such a person has before we come in, either funding or business advisory services or training. And also one problem that the entrepreneurs don't mention is human capital. Sometimes the wrong person for the right job.
Do you have people helping in running your business, Leslie?
With a farming, like animal farming, most of the time one person or maybe two people is enough. So usually I do most of the
Right. Okay, back to you, Joseph.
activities myself.
So you see, maybe let me talk about his farming. So you go and employ or you engage somebody who doesn't know much about rabbit farming, rearing. Then the person, by the time you realize you are in Accra, the next day they call you that one rabbit is dead. You see, your money is going down the drain. So we first have to identify, look into your staff, look into your human capital to find out, are you engaging the right people who can help you grow? Because if you give you 10 billion and you still have the wrong people you are working with, the money will go down the drain. So we come in, go through your books, go through your activities, identify the problem. We can, at the end of this diagnosis, we can even find out that it's not even money that you need. Maybe you need the right material and the right people to work with.
Right. So
we
once
don't
you
just come
highlight
in.
these problems and you realize that it's actually money he needs, what happens?
And what we do is when we realize there's your challenges about money, that's where we come in with the funding. And with people like his, maybe 10,000 to 100,000 might not even be okay for him. And such a person will take you to NBSSI, who are also doing something similar to support people who are doing their own business. If you are within our range where we can support you to, we come in and give you the money for you because we've been meeting a lot of them. And one thing I must mention, that a lot is going on, but it looks like people think, okay, when I go, they won't give me. Oh, that perception that is politics is who you know. That's not it. There are people who are benefiting. We have huge population. A lot of people are benefiting. You might not see the impact now, but in 5 years to come, the impact will be very, very huge. So when you come to our place, we diagnose the problems and understand how we can help. We don't just go in and give you money or give you something to go out and, just. We've had situations where we give money to people, they will go and, you understand?
Yeah, I get you.
Right. Some will go and marry second wife, some will go and take second girlfriends.
So still on funding, but let's slightly move away from that and talk about the legal and regulatory framework when it comes to setting up your businesses. Have you registered your business, Leslie?
Yes, it's been.
Did you go through a hurdle before registering?
Usually with the registrar general, sometimes it takes some time, but it depends on the kind of registration you are doing. If it's just a regular sole proprietorship, it's quite flexible as compared to doing.
But you have friends who
company.
complain and express their concerns when it comes to registering their business.
Yes. Sometimes you need like support, guidance, direction. Because, for instance, if you are registering a company like a limited liability company, you need an auditor to get you the auditor's letter. Like it comes with some.
Do you feel these complexities will push people off and make it difficult for them to fully explore their entrepreneurship space?
Yes, if you know, like you are going to struggle before you be able to register, why don't I just do it the way I'm doing? Because, for instance, if you don't register, you are still getting your you are still getting your market, you are still able to make your sales and you get your money, and the company is not registered, nobody's challenging you with that, then you're fine. But if it comes up that you need the registration documents to be able to apply for funding or get a contract so that you can supply to someone, then that's where, okay, let me rush and go and register so that I'll be able to do this supply deals and all. So it
Right.
depends on.
There's that challenge as well. Time is fast spent. So we would like to draw the curtains on your thoughts on the legal and regulatory framework when it comes to the complexities. What is the best way for entrepreneurs to, ensure that they are not stopped in their tracks, when it comes to these regulatory schemes?
Sometimes you go to some of these offices for, the regulatory documents and other things, and it's like somebody has been set there to frustrate you. Yeah, you feel like they just want to frustrate you, and that's why NEIP is there. It's part of what we do. When you go to FDA, Ghana Standard Authority, and other time you have problems, you come to us. Even you don't even have to go there yourself. Come to us. We will lead you. We will make sure that you have everything before we go there. And because you are with us, you get everything in time. So, as I mentioned, there's a lot being done, but it looks like people actually don't want to come forward. I want to say there's a lot to help. There's a lot of help, but people don't come forward. Because I know people who have been complaining, they go to FDA, they go here, and the challenges are, when you come through us, we will take you there. I mean, before we take you there, we'll know that everything is correct. Then we'll get there.
So in reaching out to you, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter. Can you please quickly let us know how individuals listening can reach out to you?
Okay, on Facebook, on social media, is at NEIP Ghana, and our website is www.neip.gov.gh. Our office is located just behind your office here, cantonment around the Ghana International School, just behind the
Togo Embassy
the Togo Embassy roundabout there. So our office is there. You can walk in at any time, even if you are operating your business, you have any challenge, just walk in at any time. We'll assign a mentor to you, we'll assign somebody to give you that business advisory services and training.
Grateful for your time, gentlemen. It's funny how time just ran quickly. Myself, I've enjoyed this conversation, and I'll have to discuss with my colleague as well as to whether we need a second part of this conversation. Certainly we do. And this is just a sign to tell us that the conversation on youth employment entrepreneurship requires a lot of deliberate efforts when it comes to dialogue and stakeholder engagement. And I will end by quoting Pierre-Frank Laporte. He is a World Bank Country Director for Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. And he, in launching the World Bank report on youth unemployment some time ago, he says that Ghana's youth employment challenge is vast and requires an all-round, deliberate, and consistent response. Emphasis on consistent. Once we begin, we need to keep doing that which brings us result. And on that note, we end the show. My name is Caleb Ahinakwa, and I've been sitting in for Benjamin Ofe Ado. Thank you so much for listening. Join us same time next week, same time. Again, we'll have to come to a consensus as to whether we are having the part 2. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. It's a good night for now.